Hey guys, what's up? It's Looney TNT. Welcome to the beginner's guide on World of Warcraft Classic. Today we're going to talk about what you should be looking at when you're picking a class, because there are different things that you want to look at when you're starting to play. Especially if you have a few friends that are playing, you're going to want to make sure to go on the right faction and things like that to be able to play with them. So, let's get right into it. The first thing that we're going to talk about in this video is we're going to talk about factions. Now, in a lot of different games, you have a team here or whatever team that you can kind of be on, and it's not a big deal. Perfect example, Pokemon Go. You have red, blue, and yellow team. Now, the difference between those games and World of Warcraft is a lot of those you can really interact with your friends even if they're on an opposite team. World of Warcraft, when you're on a faction, you cannot interact with the other faction. So if your friend is an alliance and you're a horde, the only way that you're going to interact with them is if you go out and you gain some honor off them and you go in some PvP action. That's the only way that you're going to be able to interact with your friends. So, what should you pick, Horde or Alliance? That's going to be up to you, but let me talk about the factions a little bit to give you guys a brief summary on what you can expect. Let's talk about the Horde first. The Horde, you can choose from 4 different races: Orc, Undead, Tauren, or Troll. Now, in Classic, if you wanted to be a Shaman, you had to be Horde. Alliance cannot be Shamans. That said, on the Alliance side, we have Human, Dwarf, Night Elf, and Gnome. They have a unique thing where they can be a Paladin. Now, a Paladin and a Shaman are very different. Some other games where you can be one class, it's pretty similar to the other person's class, just kind of different skins and stuff. Shaman and Paladin are completely different, and we'll talk about that in the class section. But that is the races that you want to pick. Now, why would you pick one over the other? We do have cosmetics and things like that, but other than wanting to be a Shaman or a Paladin, which obviously if you want to be one, you have to be that faction. We'll take that out of the equation. Why would you want to pick Horde versus Alliance, or Alliance versus Horde? We have something which is called racials in this game. Now, a racial ability is something that only that race can do. So let's look at the Tauren, for example. Now, the Tauren, if you look over on this side of the screen here, where you can kind of see me scrolling, Taurens have a maximum health increase, which isn't a dramatic thing, but it does make a little bit of a difference. Their herbalism skill is increased, which means when you first start out the game, when you're doing professions, they're going to be able to, they're going to be a little bit higher level when they start. That's all that means. Resistance to nature damage. So in this game, resistance is a good thing. So you can resist fire or shadow or nature. Those are going to help you a lot in the end game. This guy actually has an ability which is may stomp many nearby enemies. So what this does is this Tauren, whether you're a warrior, hunter, shaman, or druid, you gain the ability to be able to have war stomp, which he smashes the ground right by him. It does an AoE stun effect, and it stuns everything around him. It's great. Now, if you look at the Orc, for example, those things change. Now, I'm not going to go through all the racials because you'll be able to do that and kind of pick and choose what you want. But as you can see, they're all different. So that is a big reason why certain players play certain races, just because their racial abilities are good. Now, that said, if you look at the race, certain races can be certain things. An Orc can be a warrior, hunter, rogue, shaman, or warlock. If you go over to a Night Elf, A night elf can be a warrior, hunter, rogue, priest, or a druid. Now, when you scroll through all the alliance, when you scroll through the human can be the most. He can be a warrior, paladin, rogue, priest, mage, or a warlock. So if you want something that's kind of, you can kind of do it all, you kind of like, a human's a great thing to pick. But if you look through all these races, you look at human, dwarf, night elf, and gnome, you only have one race that can actually be the druid. And that is the night elf. It is the same thing over on the Tauren side, or the Horde side. A Tauren is the only race that can be a druid on the Tauren side, or on the Tauren side. Team Tauren on the Horde side. So that's something to look into if you do want to be a druid also. Now, when you're looking at these classes, what can these classes do? They're all very unique because we have races, but we're interested in the classes. What can the classes benefit from, right? In WoW Classic, we have 3 major roles. We have tank, heals, DPS. Some other MMOs call the DPS a DD, which is a damage dealer. And World of Warcraft, we just call it a DPS, which is a damage per second. That is what we call it. Now, all classes can't be all roles. If we look at the warrior, for example, the warrior, he has 3 different specs, because now we're getting a little bit deeper into the classes. Specs are something that every single class has 3 different specs you can go. Warrior, for example, has a tank spec, which is protection, a DPS spec, which is fury, and another DPS spec, which is arms. Now, you might be thinking, why would you have 2 DPS specs on a character? Wouldn't you have tank, healer, DPS all on it, and you get to pick which one? Some classes, such as the hunter, actually has 3 DPS specs. You look at the warlock, 3 DPS specs. You look at the mage, 3 DPS specs. Every single class is a little bit different, which makes it really fun, and that's why picking a character gets really intriguing, because there's so much to do. You're trying to figure out, what should I do? What race should I go? What class should I go? What spec should I go? And then you go move into professions and things like that, which we're not going to talk about in this video, but there's a lot to pick from. So, if you're a new player, what should you pick? Now, there are a lot of... The cool thing about WoW Classic is we know what's good and we know what's not. This game has already been out, so we already know what classes are going to do well on which bosses and everything, which is really unique. You can't go wrong with almost any class. If there's anything that intrigues you, look at it, play it. I think you're gonna enjoy it. There are 2 specs in the game that I will give you advice on that you should not go. That is, on the paladin side, when you pick a paladin, what you're probably going to be doing is you're probably going to be healing. But the paladin can tank. He has a DPS spec, and he has a healing spec. So he has all 3. The problem with the paladin is he does okay tanking. DPS, he doesn't do okay. But heals, he's really good. So when you're trying to look into getting into a group or a dungeon or something like that, maybe even a raid, they're probably going to ask you to heal. So if you don't want to heal and you want a DPS, you might want to pick a different spec, or might want to pick a different class. Let's talk about the Druid. The Druid is almost in a similar boat. Can they tank? Yes. In my opinion, the Druid can tank better than the Paladin. Can they DPS? It depends who you ask. you don't want to go balance form, and that is their caster DPS form. That is a spec that that is not very good, and it is on the same line as the paladin. They're probably gonna ask you to heal. Can you tank? Yes. Can you DPS? Maybe. Feral DPS is a thing. You can do feral DPS, but feral DPS is also the tanking spec, so it might get a little confusing for a newer player. But you don't want to go balance. You don't want to go the boomkin, the moonkin. There's different ways, different terms that you want to say. Especially if you're a new player, you're gonna want, you know, the better classes if you can. So that said, we talked about tank a little bit. What is the best tanking class? The best tanking class is warrior. If you go warrior, it is a little bit difficult to level up. But once you get to max level and you get a little bit of gear, you are so good. You're the best DPS. You're the best tank. A warrior is a great choice to go. I'm not going to go over all the classes, but I do want to go over those few that are the best. Warrior is so good. You look at rogue. Rogue for damage is really good. PvP, really good. Healers, if you're looking at healers, priest is the best. Shamans are good. They're if you wanted to go like A being the best, F being the worst, a shaman would probably be somewhere in a B. Priest would be an A. Paladin, probably a B to an A. Druid, probably a B, somewhere around there. Their rejuvenations will not stack, so it's kind of, you don't want too many druids in the group that are healers. But other than that, priest is the best healer. So if you're looking to heal, a priest will be the best healer for you. DPS, there's so many different options. Like I said, warrior is so strong. Rogue is so strong. Mage is a really good choice. You're going to always want a warlock in the group. The list goes on and on. So you really can't go wrong unless you go Ret Paladin or Boomkin. If you avoid those, you're going to be pretty good when you're picking a class. So just remember those specs that nobody really wants. But that said, this was a little guide on giving you guys information on what to look at. My best advice is to try out a few classes, especially if you're new. This video is for the people that are coming into the game that have never played. Test out the classes, level them up to 5, see what you like, and play another class. For your first playthrough, you should not be racing to level 60. You should be learning everything about the game that you can. Learning how to get your flight pass, where to go, where to quest, how to do professions, all these things. It should be your time to enjoy the game and not rush it. Classes, when you pick a class and you level to 60, that is a lot of invested time. That's why I say pick a few different classes, get it to level 5, maybe even level 10 if you're enjoying the class. See some of the spells that you're going to get. Read the spells you're going to achieve. Look online. See which classes are going to be the best if you want to be that guy. Enjoy your time playing World of Warcraft Classic. Alright guys, if this video helped you guys out, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Click that notification bell. All my guys that are my subscribers, I appreciate you guys for sticking through the video and watching this. It definitely helps us out. Make sure to share it to one of your friends that is getting into the game, that has never played before, that is not sure what to do, what to go. Share them this video. Alright guys, more videos to come, and like always, I'll talk with you again soon.